Welcome to Backroom Talk.
So guys, this week Carl and I are here talking about the things every fitness program needs to include. What are the activities that need to go in every perfect program?
Tough contractions inside of the way that we deliver fitness or how we teach coaches to deliver fitness. It's in a personalized way. And for something to be personalized, it has to have a very specific intent. Yeah, I mean, what is the definition of fitness? It's all about survival, right? It's like human fitness is the ability to survive.
To listen to more Backroom Talk, be sure to subscribe. Learn to design personalized programs with the OPEX system of coaching by heading to opexfit.com.
Let's do it. Guys, welcome to another episode of Backroom Talk. As always, please make sure if you're listening on audio, you subscribe and leave us a comment. It means the world to us, so thank you. I think it's a review, not a comment, so that would be the correct term there.
Oh, yeah, and audio?
Yeah, subscribe and leave us a review. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe and leave us a comment.
Boom.
Very different things.
There
we go. So guys, this week, Carl and I are here talking about the things every fitness program needs to include.
That's some deep shit.
Yeah.
It's deep. It's very deep.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so the first thing that we discussed was intentions and making sure that every fitness program has intentions. So I'm guessing like you hear the things every fitness program needs to include. You guys might be thinking we're going to talk about exercises, like the exercises you need to do and the kinds of aerobic training you have to do, but we're OPEX, so we're gonna step back, take it a little bit deeper, and start with intentions.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a clear one and easy one for us, right? Like, inside of the way that we deliver fitness or how we teach coaches to deliver fitness, it's in a personalized way. And for something to be personalized, it has to have a very specific intent, right? So there has to be intentions over it, right? And I think, I think we'll bleed into a couple different areas here, but if you have a program without intentions, and when we say program, we're saying, lifestyle program, exercise program, relationship, the whole nine, right? Like there has to be intentions behind it. And, I think we can all think back to when, like a moment in time where we've done fitness without intentions, without aligned intentions. And that doesn't have to be like someone was programming for you or coaching you. It was like you were just going into the gym aimlessly without any intentions behind it. And you see it a lot like in let's just say in the market where it's like it's January 1st, so I'm going to start exercising. And it's like, what are the intentions behind it? It's like the intentions are it's January 1st, right? So it's like February 1st comes around and it's no longer January 1st, and compliance goes down, and memberships start going away and all of that stuff. So that's an example that I think a lot of people can understand, because I think we've all known someone that is like, hey, I'm going to start working out, and there was no real reason behind it. Usually it's, oh, I just want to be in better shape, I want to lose some weight, blah, blah, blah. But over days and weeks and months, those intentions are malaligned, so they just stop doing it. So yeah, I think every fitness program needs to start with, let's not even get into like the correct intentions, but there has to be an intention behind doing that thing, or you're just not going to continue to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to you talk right now, Carl, and I'm thinking back. I've been writing exercise programs for myself since I was like this tall, right? I always did it even as a kid. And I used to, because I heard that fitness was good for you, exercise was good for you. So it was a thing I could go out and do. I should go out and do. And I remember like writing myself like workouts of like running around the oval. I'd walk down to the park by myself, run around the oval, like do some sit-ups and push-ups, and like really didn't enjoy it, honestly, and would do that for a week and then just totally stop. And again, it was just a good example of, to me, fitness having no intention behind it. It was just something that, people around me, older people, had told me was beneficial. So I thought that I needed to try. And, the evolution over the decades has been finding fitness that has intention behind it.
I think even for coaches that quote unquote know better, right? I think there's a lot of coaches out there that design their own fitness programs and they're just kind of experimenting on themselves. And I think coaches that have tried that and they've like built out this 6-8 week split, and they get like 2 weeks in and they're like pivoting, and that becomes a constant. And the excuse that they use is like, oh, I'm just like too biased, or I can't get rid of my biases, and I just do the things that I want to do, and I'm not challenging myself, so I'm constantly pivoting. And I think it's because they actually don't have intentions and why they're building that 8-week split. So they just don't stick to it because they get 2 weeks in and like they have that like squirrel moment of like, oh, I saw this other person doing this. Maybe I would want to do this type of fitness instead. So they're like constantly changing their fitness programs. And these are coaches that know better, right? Like they're coaches that coach a lot of people and they do a great job at coaching those people, but they need to take a step back and look at what their intentions are in their own fitness programs. And when we start looking at, what are good and bad intentions or like, novel intentions, I think that's where it gets a little weird, right? Because I don't think anyone can say like an intention is good or bad. I think it's, we have to look at, why the person is doing that thing and is there connection? And we'll talk about it in alignment. But I think about, I was reading Shoe Dog a few months ago, Phil Knight, and he was talking about running because he was an avid runner. Right? He ran for University of Oregon, so on and so forth. And he was talking about why he enjoyed running so much. And he was like, I always ran without a destination. He's like, I would be, if I was competing, I was just like running around this track and I wasn't really running anywhere. And he's like, I wasn't good enough to actually win. So he's like, but I was so motivated just to run. Or, when I, have a quick piece of toast and, a coffee before my morning runs, he's like, I'd just step outside. It'd be rainy, really shitty outside. I'd have no idea where I was going, but I just enjoyed running so much. And he said, it might have just been the runner's high, but what connected me to running my entire life was running, just doing it, the process of running. And I think if people find that, something similar to that in exercise, I think that's a really beautiful thing because we hear it all the time. It's like, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? And I think a lot of the time we don't really know how to answer it if we don't have these very specific goals. But I think for a lot of us, and I think you and I kind of fall into this piece, it's like, I just like to exercise because I like to exercise. It just feels really good. I don't give a shit like what my scores are, what my times are, if I'm lifting a lot, if I'm getting better, really. It's just like, I just enjoy exercising. So I think and that might be, that might be higher order intentions in exercise, but I think that's what we should all be working toward. I think that's it, right? Like we should just want to do fitness and exercise and live a healthy life because it feels good. That's it.
Yeah, it's that whole enjoying the process piece, right? That that you always hear people coming back to, and it can connect to any like end goal as well. Like whether someone does have the intention of competing in a sport or training for health, they can still enjoy the process and enjoy the the feeling of being in the gym and trying out exercises and different styles of aerobic training and be more bought into it, not just because they're working out for their long-term health or to step on the court and play a sport, but because they're in there enjoying that experimentation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are doing it for a living, or are doing it at such a high level of competition, I think a lot of those people don't enjoy the process, and I think that's actually okay. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure that comes along with that. There's a lot of pressure, when you warm up to hit your A, there's a lot of pressure in each one of those pieces and there's a lot of psychological pieces that go into that as well. It's like, if you and I, have back squat A and we're like, we want to be at about 85% today, and we can't touch 75%, we just move on, right? But if our lives and jobs and financial stability were on the line and we couldn't get to 85%, I know that would affect us a lot differently, right? So the enjoying the process piece for someone that's doing it to win and for points, I don't think we should. I think from a coach's standpoint, I think coaches always tell their athletes like, hey, you just got to enjoy the process, but you gotta be empathetic to what's on the line for these people. It's like they may not enjoy the process, right? Like the whole moniker of like blood, sweat, and tears, that's a real thing for people, right? It's like they do not like what they have to do to win, but they like the feeling of winning so much that they're going to do that thing. So even the enjoying the process thing, I think we have to open our eyes to like, that's not even reality for a lot of people that are doing it at a very high level.
Yeah, it's a really interesting consideration, especially as someone who hasn't trained at a high level before, thinking about that. And it looks like a glamorous lifestyle and like such an, exciting, sexy thing to compete in sport from the outside. But the reality is sometimes you just got to suck it up and do things you don't want to
Yeah, it
in
was
that world.
it was a refreshing. It was I think we talked about this before, but it was a really refreshing moment in my life when I knew that I wasn't training for money anymore. Like when I was playing football, and it was like I always loved exercising. I always loved working out. I always loved pushing myself and trying to get better, but it was like a 1,000,000 pound weight off of my shoulders when I went into the gym. Like when I was done with that and I went into the gym the very next day, and I was like, this just feels different, right? Like this feels different. Like there's nothing on the line. I can actually just have fun and enjoy myself. Whereas before it was always like there was always this thing that was in my brain where it's like, okay, today I'm doing this, and the outcome that I need this to affect down the road is that. And there was just like a lot of pressure, and that might be like a personal thing. I'm not saying everyone feels that way, but I just remember feeling that weight lifted off my shoulders. And then I felt that again in my military career, and then I felt that again in my CrossFit career. So I've gone through iterations of that, of like weights being lifted off my shoulders relative to exercise, when I knew that there was no longer nothing on the line.
Yeah. Okay. Well, intentions. Let's move on from there and talk about like some of the, I guess, nitty gritty that needs to go in the program that is not connected to exercise, and that's lifestyle pieces, right? At OPEX, we believe that every coach needs to be prescribing not just what happens inside of the gym, not just, your A1s through D1 and D2, but actually, looking at what's happening in that person's life on a holistic level. What kinds of foods are they eating? What does their sleep look like? What does their overall stress load look like? So lifestyle's got to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And this is such an obvious one, right? I think everyone listening is like, yeah, duh, right? But I think what we've struggled with in the past is that there's not like this, global known way to effectively prescribe lifestyle to people, like outside of just having conversations with them. And that's something that we're, fighting all the time, where it's like, what's the best way to do it? Because we know it's so important. Exercise is so easy, right? It's like you go into the gym at this time, you do this or you don't, right? That's it. And it's like we have these like very tangible weights and times and reps and blah 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 to be like, okay, it was successful or not. But in lifestyle, historically, it's been prescribed through conversation, and there's been very little action that's happened on the backside of that. And I think, that's why precision nutrition, when they came into this thing, decade plus ago, that's where they did such a good job, where it was like, hey, we're not going to do this thing perfectly, right? Like, they launched Pro Coach and all that, and, it's good for some people, not great for others. But they took a step and they're like, hey, this is how you prescribe this thing. And that's when like that group of coaches, of precision nutrition coaches, like they were really attracted to that. And then, James with CCP, and, especially like in that 2011-12 time when he was talking about like the basics, right? Like basic lifestyle guidelines. And there was a group of coaches that were just so attracted to that because it just made so much fucking sense. That was it. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Why are we not all talking about that? But we just struggled over the past, decade of like, how do we prescribe it though? It's like we can have conversations, we can have consultations, but how do we prescribe it? And, we're fighting the fight to solve that problem with Coach RX. But just going back to the beginning, it's like we have to prescribe a lifestyle with exercise. If we don't, it's like, what the hell are we doing? We're ignoring a very, very big piece of adaptation, the way that humans behave, live, so on and so forth.
Yeah, the clients are not going to get results from their, exercise, the resistance training they went and did if then they go eat like crap, don't recover, don't sleep, aren't in an anabolic state outside of the gym. So, yeah, we really got to look after that. And it's not only, like you said, about having conversations around lifestyle, it's about actually making that as important as exercise and making sure the client realizes that it is just as heavily weighted when it comes to the success that they see, if not more, probably more than what they're doing in the gym, in terms of, overall time spent and effort spent on those lifestyle activities. So, I mean, I'll pimp Coach RX a little bit, but having the ability to prescribe nutrition and behavioral pieces in the same platform as exercise, where it appears on the same day as a to-do alongside their exercise, I think that's massive in people recognizing that it needs to be a daily priority along with compliance inside of the gym.
Yeah, just in optics, like you're saying, right? Like, you pull that app up and it's like, you can't ignore that that big piece of broccoli, right? Like you have like the dumbbell, but it's like this big piece of broccoli is looking right at you in the face. It's like, fucking do this too, right? So I think we have to position that on the same level as exercise, like you're saying. But our competitive advantage as coaches is not in program design. Our competitive advantage is relationship building and really digging into lifestyle pieces with people, because let's be honest, right? It's like we're not, I think a few years ago we were saying one day there's going to be AI and there's going to be this and there's going to be that. It's like we're actually living there now. Like computers can progress people, based on principles. Computers can tinker and give a pretty good program design. So coaches that are leaning on their program design capabilities and the exercise pieces as their competitive advantage, they're going to get left behind like right now, right? So our competitive advantage as coaches is leaning into lifestyle and relationships. So I think we need to put that above exercise right now as coaches. So there's also going to be an opportunity to teach clients that too, because I know you deal with it too, but it's crazy. It's eye-opening that some people don't see the connections, right? Like, I talked to a girl a couple weeks ago, and, we were talking about volume of training and how she was feeling, and recovery wasn't where she wanted it. And, she still wanted more volume, and, sleep was at like 4 hours a night, like no shit, like 4 hours a night. And she just didn't clearly see the connection. So it was like, all right, let's just stop, right? Let's have a conversation on these lifestyle pieces. And I'm actually not going to give you what you want in exercise until we take care of these things. And it wasn't like in an asshole-ish way or anything like that. It's just like, this is reality, right? Like we have to take care of these really important, simple things first before we can worry about, hitting all this fun mixed modal stuff and challenging ourselves physically. And then it's having a conversation on adaptation and what's going to set you up to best adapt to that physical work. And people don't understand that sleep is important still. Like people don't understand that getting hours of sleep is important, and we have to teach them that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that the exercise part is easy. It's much easier for people to block off an hour on their calendar and make it to the gym and do what's inside of their, phone, their app to complete their exercise piece. It's much harder to get 8 hours of sleep, to make good decisions around nutrition throughout the day, to drink water consistently when you're, being hit by emails and meetings and kids and everything that's going on. So it's easier for people to just kind of like shove that to the side, almost make a joke about it. Like it's funny to people that they have shitty lifestyles, which really I find upsetting. But it's a coping mechanism that you see play out. The reality is it's much harder. So when people are asking for like harder, tougher program design that's in the gym, it's like, let's take some of that energy that you want to put into exercise and let's refocus that on your lifestyle and nutrition pieces. And let's make a game out of getting 7 hours of sleep instead of 4 hours. Because if you feel like you have more to put into exercise, let's take some of that focus and that energy and that drive, and let's make sleep the thing that you're working towards.
Yeah, it's like a badge of honor, right? It's like I get no sleep and I work really hard and all that shit. Like it's a badge of honor. I was just listening to, and I respect this guy, right? Like I was listening to Elon Musk in an interview, and he was saying that he got like 3 hours of sleep a night or something like that, and he's like feeling great and everything's all good. And it's like, fuck, man, like we'd probably be on Mars already if you just pushed that to 7, right? Like, and he's a very, very smart dude, right? So you have people that are listening to that interview and, let's say these people are like, executives and CEOs in bigger companies. They're like, I'm going to do what Elon Musk does, right? Because all I see is success in the stock market with Tesla and all the great things he's doing with SpaceX. I want to be more like that person. So it's that badge of honor where people are like, I need to push a little bit harder. I need to work more. I need to have less fun. I need to, eat less or eat shittier food that's more convenient for me. And I need to sleep less so I have more time to work. And that's just not the right thing to do, right? Like, I get it. In some professions, like, you have no choice, right? Like, when lives are on the line and you're a shift worker and you can't help it, I get it. But if those things are in your control, just figure out ways to organize shit to put your own lifestyle first. And if you're a coach and you're not putting your own lifestyle first, it's like, how the hell are you going to tell someone else to put their lifestyle first? So I think that's really, really important, is just to practice it.
Final point I want to hit on lifestyle is that just like exercise, it can't just be a one size fits all, like, do these things, eat these number of veggies, get this number of hours sleep, because the reality is if someone is sleeping 4 hours and eating no vegetables throughout the day, they're going to be set up for failure and you're not going to see progress. So that program needs to include a progressive approach to prescribing these things. It's like if someone is really struggling to eat veggies throughout the day and they don't see an opportunity to do it, maybe it's starting with like carrot sticks, even if that's not your ideal, or a greens powder alternatively, even if it's not optimal and what you might want someone to get towards as an end goal. I look at one of my clients that we've chatted about him before, but like 2 years ago, he was getting 5.5 hours of sleep per night. 2 years later, he's at 6.5. Is that ideal? No, but it's a hell of a lot better than we were at 2 years ago. So I hope in 2 years' time, that's 7.5 hours, but it's going to be a gradual progression of those behavioral changes.
Yeah, and lifestyle takes time, like a lot of time, right? It's like we can't look at it like an 8-week accumulation cycle where it's like, we have these 3 big lifestyle pieces that we want to implement with someone, and you're like sitting down at your computer and you're building out this awesome 8-week training phase, and you're just like, I'm just gonna plug these 3 lifestyle pieces inside of this 8 weeks, and then I'm gonna progress those along with this accumulation phase after the 8 weeks. It just doesn't work that way for most people, because lifestyle prescriptions are they're habit building mechanisms. That's all they are, right? It takes a lot of time to build habits with people. So you might be working on the same habits for 6 months before you're like, okay, are we good here? Like high five, half body weight in ounces. All right, I'm going to take that out. That's no longer a prescription because you just do that now. We're not taking it out because we're saying we don't want you to no longer do it. We're saying that's now a habit that you've acquired, so we don't have to talk about it on a daily basis anymore.
All right, I think this is a nice switch into alignment and making sure that the coach and the client are always on the same page. And that has to start with, clear communication and making sure every, program design doesn't just begin with, here's your workout, go do it. But there's something that's happening before. And at OPEX, we do a consultation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this will be a quick one. I think we're always working to build alignment with people. And I think that, coaches, like, if anyone's been doing it for a number of years, you've probably had a client that you've worked with for a number of years. And typically what we see with coaches that work with a client for a number of years, that client becomes the quote unquote easy client. So the alignment goes away because the coach just says in their head, like, oh, we're good. Like, we've been working together forever, right? So I don't need to have conversations with them about their exercise or lifestyle program. I don't need to, fix their things on the floor because they're good now. They know what I'm going to say to them. And those are the people that, 2 years, 3 years down the road, they're just like, I don't feel like I'm getting the value that I used to get from you as my coach. So I think even those in those scenarios where you're coaching someone for a number of years, alignment could be awesome to start, and then it kind of just fizzles away, and that's not okay, right? It's like you always have to work. It's like a push and pull of like, we good, like over and over and over with our clients. And I'm not saying you should do that on a daily basis. That's probably like a biannual push and pull once you're working with someone for years and years, because we do want people to be able to figure it out on their own to some extent. But to back it up, just building alignment with people, that's just making them a part of the process. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, but it has to be done in a way that from day one in that initial consultation, it's a like, why are you here? You take that and then you give them feedback based on what it's always that. And we call that like the Napa Framework, right? Where it's like, we take in that information, we digest it, we make sure that, we're on the same page, and we do that verbally. And over time, and we start to build, initial transition to designs, and we build phases out, and we build lifestyle programs out. It's having some level of conversation, whether that's in person or through email or through a message or something like that, where it's like, hey, this is the plan. Are we good here? Right. And that person just signing off, that client just signing off and being like, yeah, this sounds awesome. Let's roll. Or maybe they have feedback and they're like, actually, this doesn't vibe well with me because I don't think I'm going to be able to accomplish these things because of X, Y, and Z. So that's just like creating alignment on a cycle by cycle basis, maybe, or even a day by day basis if you're working with someone in person.
Yeah, I reflect on just the need for that like open communication ongoing, and I'm completely blanking, Carl, on what it was I was going to say right there. What was it?
I don't know what you're going to say.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It's probably going to be good.
It probably was going to be fire.
Yeah, I saw that face. You were like,
I
I cut it off because it was. you're like, oh, shut up! I have this thing I have to say.
It was going to happen eventually, but no, just making sure that what goes in the program itself is actually connected to what that client wants. And if the coach doesn't know what the client's goals are ongoing, as work changes, as babies come into the picture, as they have new relationships, if they're not able to stay connected to that, it's going to be very tempting to like just want to throw everything at that client. And we had the conversation around over programming the other day. And if you are not aligned with your client and what they want to do and what they want to get out of their fitness, then how can you know what you need to prescribe for them?
Yeah, I mean, we chatted on minimum effective dose the other day. And I think that's it, right? It's always thinking about, what a client really needs. Right, like what a client really needs, and then sprinkle in some of the things that they really want. And for a lot of people, no matter what their goals are, right? For a lot of people, we go back to how we started this conversation. A lot of people just want to enjoy what they're doing on a daily basis. So just even asking the question like, how was today, right? Like, did you enjoy it? Was everything good? How do you feel? And not getting into like, did the weight feel heavy? Like, do you think we can progress it this way next week? It's just like, how did you feel? Like, did you enjoy it? And if there's like that, no, it's like me giving Emma a 10-minute assault bike last week and seeing her comments on that. It was like, maybe we're not going to give Emma 10-minute assault bikes every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But just understanding what people enjoy and what they don't is really important. Like, and I'm not like downplaying people's goals and the outcomes that they want from their fitness program, but if our intentions are to just get people to a point where they just enjoy what you call the process, even though that process in some instances doesn't really have an end thing. It's just like, I just want to do this thing forever because it feels good. We don't always have to connect to volumes, reps, and sets and all that stuff. So back to the minimum effective dose thing, it's like, don't overprogram for people. Yeah. Don't throw everything at them. Don't think that I have this thing in my toolbox. I need to give clusters and drop sets and this and that. Just give people things that challenge them enough, keep them engaged, and that they enjoy.
Yeah, I know one question I ask regularly on a monthly consultation is like, is there anything from the last month you've loved, hated, or feel like is missing? And it just gives people an opportunity to sit back and think. And normally it's like, no, everything was good. But occasionally you hear like little patterns emerge. And for some reason, some person just like, they don't like doing glute bridges. And, it's not something they've communicated to you in their results throughout the month. But instead of letting them continue to get frustrated by the fact that they're getting glute bridges in their program design, because for whatever reason they don't like them, just find another way to get the dose you want. And, don't be so stuck and wed to the exercises that go inside that program. It's funny you say that,
because I see all of your I don't actually see all of your programs, but I wouldn't be surprised if all of your programs had glute bridges in them. You like glute bridges?
I do love a glute bridge. I really do. It speaks to my biases.
Yeah,
they don't all have glute bridges though. I have some clients who don't have glute bridges.
I'm gonna dig into your CoachRx later. Command F and glute bridge, and it's just gonna be like 1,066 results. It's like me and the bicep curl. Hey man, if I coach you, you're doing some bicep curls.
This is true. This is true.
Tendon health in the elbows, elbow health is very important.
And big guns.
And yeah, it's like, do you even work out, man? Like, you have no biceps.
All right, so we've talked around lifestyle, alignment, and intentions. Let's get into like what's actually happening inside of training. I think that's what everyone's here for, right? What are the activities that need to go in every perfect program?
Gosh, tough contractions. Yeah, tough contractions across all patterns of movement. Right, so we should all be squatting, we should all be lunging, we should all be bending, we should all be pulling, we should all be pushing, and we should all be coring.
We'll
Is that
go
a
with
thing?
coring.
Yeah, I like coring.
Yeah.
It's kind of like whoring.
Because we always get the question. We always get the question of like, what about carries? Those fit inside of core, guys.
Yes.
We put carries inside of core.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we're hitting all movement patterns, and we're doing challenging contractions for each of them. Does that mean we're doing, a heavy 5 on the back squat every session, or like, really tough weighted pull-ups or a heavy deadlift? Is that what you mean?
For some people, yeah, for some people. But there's so many considerations that we have to think about, right? Like James so eloquently laid out the life gain chart, and it's just such a beautiful thing when we're looking at, what should be in everyone's program resistance-wise, right? And it's that like, building motor control, motor learning opportunities and those beginner clients. And then as we get further down the road, it's like now we're starting to express those in strength endurance. And then as we get into that advanced stage, now it's like, yeah, do some intense, tough contractions. So across all of those people, those are all tough contractions, right? Doing, 15 reps at a high time under tension with load, those are tough contractions for anyone, right? Moving through and going to strength endurance, so moving a little bit faster, maybe you're extending those sets and reps out a little bit. Those are tough contractions, and hitting tough 1, 2s, and 3s on a back squat, those are for sure tough contractions, right? So tough contractions have to live across the board. It's just those contractions are challenging something else. That's it. But if they're not challenging and tough, quote unquote, then why are we doing them? Right? We were talking about it yesterday. It's like, if you're not going to do tough contractions and resistance work, just go for a walk. Right? Every time our feet hit the ground, we're contracting our quads and our calves and our glutes and our hamstrings, all of that. It's like, just do that. Right? But we lift weights to challenge those specific patterns and muscle groups. So it's like, they should be challenging.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously tough and challenging is relative to the individual. And if you take that beginner client who hasn't had the opportunity to develop motor control into strength endurance, into like tougher maximal contractions, you're going to limit their ability to actually express those contractions. Mm-hmm. So you run into issues where you're giving that brand new person, let's call it a heavy 5 on the back squat, but they've never actually developed good motor control in an air squat or a goblet squat before. And you're going to limit their ability to get that tough response we want and the mechanical tension and hormonal benefits that they would get if they were given something that was appropriate for their life gain stage.
Yeah, but put that same person in a safe environment and let them do a tough 5, and then have a conversation of, how did that feel? What were the limiters for you? And if they're like, well, like I couldn't keep the barbell on my back, and, set 4, I almost dropped it because I couldn't keep the barbell on my back. And you're like, well, how did your legs feel? Like, oh, they felt fine. It's like, okay, yeah, they just haven't developed like the skill of back squatting. And you can have that conversation with them, right? It's like me doing a tough contraction, like a tough 5 with my 9-year-old Colton, right? It's like, we've done that before, and we've had that conversation of like, the barbell on my spine kind of hurts a little bit because I have like 85, 100 pounds on there. And it's like, the position at the bottom, I'm really fighting to stay upright. It's like, yeah, you're just not ready to do that yet, right? So put people in a safe environment and do that stuff that they, quote unquote, shouldn't do, and have a conversation around why they shouldn't do it. And going back to alignment, you might be better aligned on why you're doing what you're doing in this phase.
Yeah, it's going to give them a really good opportunity to figure out, why time under tension might be a little bit higher, why they're working on pauses in their back squats instead of, working through fast tempos, why volume is a little bit higher, and the kind of like response you want them to feel from that training and the tension they should be able to notice and feel throughout the session.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So resistance or tough contraction should be there. And maybe it's very, linearly built, and there's this like huge plan to like get them over to this side and of max contractions and all that. Or maybe it's not, right? It's like just having tough contractions in the program is really beneficial from a health standpoint. And like you said, it's all relative. A tough contraction for someone could just be, arms in a genie position and doing reverse lunges at a slow tempo, right? For someone that's never done a lunge exercise in their entire life, it's like that's an adequate tough contraction for that person. And then for someone else, you might have 300 pounds in the front rack position and doing that same reverse lunge. It's like you can put those two people next to each other, and those are both tough contractions relatively, and they're both really beautiful things because they're what that person should be doing, and it's what those people are capable of doing as well.
Yeah, we won't go into like specifics around movement patterns. I think we should do a whole other podcast where we break down movement patterns and why we would do each one. But again, just making sure there's balance, whether it be in a session for a beginner or, in a split throughout the week for more advanced clients.
Yep. Let's just end it on those challenging contractions should be appropriate as well, right? So like not doing things that people shouldn't be doing. Like, remember we talked about then the experiment? It's like, do that as an experiment, but don't like put that on every Monday, right?
For sure.
Or, if someone presents with something in the assessment where they aren't capable of moving through a particular range of motion, don't give them an exercise that they shouldn't be doing. And, there's no chart for that. It's like you just have to have common sense. If someone presents a pattern, they present performing a pattern inadequately, then you got to meet them where they are in that pattern and don't just throw everything at them.
Yeah, challenge. There's good challenge, and then there's challenge that people are actually not going to be able to express and recover from. Yep. So finding the balance there.
Yep.
In partnership with our resistance training, we want people to breathe and sweat.
Yeah, breathe and sweat, man. Gosh. Yeah, and this isn't like a MAP 10-to-1 conversation or, alactic power to lactic endurance or anything like that. This is just like, just move your body, breathe heavily and sweat often, right? Like I think it's good if people do that every single day, but just do it often.
Yeah, some clients might enjoy or benefit from the challenge of that MAP 10 down to 1 progression and, introducing mixed modalities at some point, whatever it might be. But I think for the majority of people, so long as they're, like you said, getting outside, preferably in the sunshine, moving their bodies, doing breathing and sweating that they enjoy, potentially with loved ones, like that. Take what you want from that, guys.
I think you just
that's an option.
Sex.
I wouldn't recommend putting that inside of Coach RX for your clients.
It's like, hey man, like get out of my life.
Maybe it's a
Depends
lifestyle
on
piece.
Yeah,
it
how
could
close
be something.
if someone says, hey, like I want to have more sex with my wife or husband, it's like, yeah, let's plug that in.
Help them schedule
when's
that.
the best time? Sunday night? Cool. Notification pushed at 7 p.m.
The push notification is too far. Have the conversation, but don't send them a notification.
Your like significant other sees your cell phone. It's like, have sex with insert name here. It's like, what is your coach telling you to have sex with me?
What do you guys talk about in those
I think
consultations?
some people would be like, oh, fuck it, yeah, let's do it.
I think
that
some
sounds
people
good.
just need the reminder and scheduling. It's
I think that's
important.
fine. I'm not going to judge those people.
Yeah. Anyway, breathe and sweat however you please, guys.
Yeah, man. We don't. We don't. I won't go there. Yeah, we'll leave that right there.
Okay, well, let's move on from that one. Unless you want us to.
But no, yeah. Just on a serious note.
Yeah.
Just breathing and sweating. Like, human beings are built to be enduring individuals, right? Like we're supposed to do aerobic work. We're supposed to have endurance capabilities inside of us. It's like, that's why we're bipedal, right? It's like, that's why we sweat, right? Like so we can continue to do that thing. There's a lot of people that don't do it, right? Like you see, and I'm not trying to like, tier human beings or whatever, right? But you see, you could put 20 humans next to each other, and you can have them do a task, right? And let's say that every human being should be able to run for 20 minutes at whatever pace is sustainable to them nonstop, and be able to like regulate temperature, be able to regulate oxygen delivery and blood going to their legs so they're not like, cramping up and falling to the ground. If we just went out on the street here in Scottsdale, we took 20 people, there would probably be 3 that would be able to do that task, right? That's alarming, right? That's very alarming, especially these days when we're looking at health as like this thing that's really important around the globe right now with the pandemic, right? And it's like, we won't get into like the data that's put out there on like obesity and how that relates to hospital visits with COVID and all of that. But just being a fit human being is really important, and not like fit on this tier of like, pushing aerobic capacity and stuff like that, but just being able to do things that every human being should do. And I just kind of threw that out there, but I think that is a good thought experiment of like, every human being should be able to, roll and run for 20 minutes without stopping at whatever pace they choose to.
Yeah, I think people regularly don't think about doing aerobic fitness, doing, aerobic exercise as that. It's considered as a way to burn calories or potentially to increase performance. But the connection between like going for a run, riding your bike, isn't connected to like, how does this actually help me do all the things I need to do for survival? How does this help, move waste, move blood, and the other benefits that come from that? And how does this, just help me not have like aches and pains and sleep better and everything else that can come from just moving our bodies, because it's what they're designed to do.
Yeah. I mean, what is the definition of fitness? It's all about survival, right? It's like human fitness is the ability to survive.
Well, our environments don't typically demand the ability to walk right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. But those same people, and I know you're not arguing against this, but those same people are the people that are unhealthy, right? And those are the people that are dying earlier than the people that are more fit, right? And I'm not saying, I think we need to decide, we almost need to define what fitness is, right? Fitness to me is just having the ability to do things, to accomplish tasks. Who cares how long it takes you to accomplish them? Who cares how much weight you're doing those tasks at? It's like, just accomplish a task, right? It's like, pick all this stuff up and carry it for 50 meters without putting it down. Run for 20 minutes without stopping, right? Drop down into a front leaning rest and be able to come back up and do that for 5 minutes straight, right? With like 1 breath between each rep. Like just little tasks like that, where I think, especially in our world, in fitness, we look at high fitness levels associating with like a number on a 5K row or a load on a back squat. It's like fitness is just being able to adapt to your environment to survive. And right now we're seeing people with low levels of fitness die from COVID, right? It's like we're seeing it. And there are outliers of people that have high levels of fitness, but this thing is getting them as well. So we do have to be empathetic to that fact, but most people that are dying right now just aren't, they're not fit people, right? So they're not able to adapt to this thing.
Yeah, and a lack of physical fitness just limits your options of what you're capable of doing. Like you said, it does take away from the ability to go and enjoy a hike or, go out and play soccer with your family, whatever it might be. So I think my idea of living like a big, large, long life includes having many, many options and being able to take advantage of those, and considering, breathing and sweating along with resistance as activities that can open up more opportunities and options for you. I think that's a really beautiful thing.
We joked about it last week. I told you I went to Vegas and I saw people, like a lot of people in like these rented wheelchairs just like cruising around the strip, and they weren't handicapped, right? It was like, and what you just said made me think of that. It was like they couldn't take advantage of like going out and walking with their family for an entire day. They couldn't do it. Instead, they opted to rent wheelchairs and just kind of do this and cruise up and down the strip, for a half day or a full day or whatever they did. But that just reminded me of that. It's like they don't have the option, right? It's like, we may take that for advantage, where it's like, or for granted of like, I can go to Vegas with my family and my kids complain about their legs being tired, but they can walk, right? walk 15 miles in a day and still be okay, right? There's some people that don't have that ability, so their options are limited.
Yeah, there's a lot of freedom that can be found in having a functional level of fitness. All right. Monitoring progression, I think, is something that needs to be inside of every fitness program. Like, we got to know where we're going and make sure things are headed in the right direction, whatever direction that's going to be, right?
Yeah. I think, the easy answer here is like FMEs and assessments and, ensure that people are getting better over time. But the thing that we need to look at before that is just, and it all connects back to the alignment and the intentions and all that, but it's like, what is the intention of the training program and the lifestyle program, and what markers show success over time? And that's going to be so different for, a lot of different people. For some people, let's say someone came to Georgia and they're like, hey, Georgia, I sleep 5.5 hours a night. I want to eventually sleep 7.5. That's your assessment of why they're there and what the intentions are on the lifestyle program. If someone comes to you and they're like, I'm a competitive runner and, my event is the 5K and I need to get better at the 5K. Well, that's your answer. You need to train them for their 5K, keep everything in mind, make sure intentions are good, alignment's there, and you have to make sure that 5K is getting better over time.
Yeah.
I think it's just, we have to identify what those KPIs really are for each individual and really lean on those KPIs and be okay when those aren't the KPIs anymore, because we pivot so much in this world.
We do, and I think as a coach it comes down to the life game piece we talked about before, and really stretching out your brain of what you want your client to accomplish in 50 years and 25 years and 15 years and 5 years. And again, things change, we pivot, but the program that you're designing today should be relative to who they are and their training age now, and also be considering where you plan to take them in the future.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah, measure progress. And sometimes that is as simple as just looking at consistency over time and making sure the compliance stays high.
Yep.
Cool. What was our last piece?
Have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah, have fun with this whole thing. Yeah, don't take it too seriously. And unless you're that person that's making a paycheck from this thing, from fitness and living a really healthy lifestyle, just have fun doing it. Yeah, it's short. Yeah, life is short. You gotta have fun with it. Can't take it too seriously. You run into people so much that are just like, they take this fitness thing so seriously, and usually it's because like they think they want to like be a competitor or something like that, and one day they just wake up and they say a term like, I'm retiring or I'm done with this, and it's like, well, what the fuck was it? Like, what was that? You have a full-time job. You spent a lot of hours in the gym, quote unquote, getting better and pushing maximum physical potential. A lot of stress was developed doing that. You didn't make it anywhere, right? Like, you never competed at any type of high level. What does being done with this actually mean? Does this mean you're done working out? Does this mean you're going to work out the exact same way but without the stress, right? It's like you see it in those people and you're just like, why did you care that much, right? Which I can appreciate someone that cares about their fitness, for sure. I'm not saying that, but we gotta have fun with it. We can't be so uptight that anything that veers off of the path of linear progress or success throws us in a tailspin and just our lives are over. And gosh, coaching people over the years, it's like I've worked with a lot of people like that, where it's like trying to rehab them out of being so attached and addicted to this thing called progression. So yeah, I think we just need to all have fun with it.
Yeah, and that really comes down as well to losing our biases as a coach. And some people might love glute bridges. Some people might hate them. Some people might love bicep curls.
I don't hate them.
Everyone loves bicep curls. No one hates bicep curls.
Yeah, if you don't.
That was a bad example.
Yeah, hold on. If you don't love bicep curls, there's actually something wrong with you.
They kind of hurt my eyes tear up from that pump feeling. I don't actually love bicep curls, Carl. We're done.
We're done here.
That's it.
You guys just watched the last episode of Backroom Talk.
Yeah, Carl doesn't want to talk to me
episode
anymore.
with Georgia.
I'm out of here, guys. I'm out of a job.
Emma, who would be? I think I'd be replaced, actually.
Don't put that on me.
I think, yeah. So sorry, guys. This is the last time you. No, but Hold on. You don't like to do bicep curls?
It's that like burny sensation, especially like I think like on the.
What if you do like 5 reps with a barbell?
That would be fine.
Okay.
It's just higher volume. The like pump specifically like on pulling exercises.
Yeah.
Pull-ups as well. Like it physically hurts me. I do them. I do bicep curls, Carl.
Okay.
I do.
I may need to coach Georgia for a couple months here.
Teach me how to
There's
love
something happening. Yeah, there's something
bicep
happening
curls.
there. There's something happening. We need to do some like
All right.
R&T something.
All right. Okay.
It fixes everything.
Wrap a band. If your program doesn't have bands in it, then you're screwed.
Yeah, you're fucked. I don't know what you're doing.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed our little kind of game around what every fitness program should include.
Yeah, we're still on enjoy, so yeah, I get it. I get why you said that. We're still on enjoy. It's all right, guys. She's rattled because now she's thinking like, is something actually wrong with me? I don't love bicep curls, and I cry when I do them. That's what you literally just said. You said I cry when I do, but maybe that's those are tears of joy.
They might be tears of joy. I just don't know
Embrace
how to recognize joy. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up there. As always, please make sure you subscribe. And if you're on audio, leave us a review. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys.